Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to work with the Cadence Mosaic Eggs Crackle effect. Now this is a superior, fabulous medium to work with. It comes in a box and you're going to get two 70ml bottles that go with this. You're going to get step 1 and step 2 with this. So it's a two-part process. But what I love about this is the fact that the drying times have been reined right in. You don't have to wait 24 hours. You don't have to come back to it the following day to wait and see the results. You can do this in a day whilst crafting. So it takes all of the guesswork, all of that process out of the equation, and makes it super achievable and easy for everybody to do. So what we're going to do first is going to work with step 1. Now what I've done here is I've actually already placed step 1 down this side. So I'm going to show you the application of step 1 and then we can show step 2 and the results and where we can go from this. So to begin with, step 1, you want to give it a good shake, and I always tap the lid of the bottle down into the palm of my hand. What that will do is naturally enforce all of the product down to the bottom here. So when we're working with this product, you want to have your tool ready to go with. Now I'm going to use a flat brush for this. I recommend using a flat brush, and so does Cadence. It's the best way to apply your product with. It gives you a really even distribution of the medium. And also the tool that you use when actually applying this particular product is very important because again, it's all about the effect. There's a reaction that happens with these. So a flat brush, this is a 2-inch flat brush. We do these in a 3, a 2 and a 1-inch pack. And they're a set of 3, they're fabulous. So I would recommend going with those for this particular process. So step 1, we're going to go across in this direction. So I'm naturally going to place out the product going down the side of my rice paper. Now this rice paper I've already glued down to a piece of board using the Cadence napkin glue. That process is because this could then go outdoors. This could be a furniture piece that you want to last a lifetime. So the napkin glue has already adhered the rice paper to the surface, and I chose a piece of whiteboard for that because it makes all of the colours pop. So again, I'm going over rice paper with this, but you could be going onto a glass plate. You could go directly onto a plant pot. It could be onto jewellery. It could be anything at all you're wanting to do this effect on, but rice paper, it looks phenomenal because it dries translucent. So we've applied step 1 directly from the bottle here. Now I'm going to take the brush. I'm left-handed, so naturally I will drag from right to left, but it really doesn't matter where you're going to place it. It's all about the application. So picking up my brush here, whenever you're using a brush, just make sure it's dry. These ones, of course, they're much loved, but at the same time, they're clean and dry. Any additional moisture that you're going to add to the product is going to change the consistency as well as the compound within the product. So again, a bone dry brush is the optimum, really, where you want to go. That's where you want to be. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by just dragging the product from left to right. Here we go, working my way up. And at the moment, I'm literally distributing the medium. You can see it's got almost like a milky consistency to it. It's fairly thick, but it's going to cover this. So I'm going to go around about halfway, or almost up to halfway with this one. Again, working in a horizontal motion. Then when I'm happy that I've covered the majority of this page, I'm then going to finish that off with a really nice even stroke. Now when working with this brush is very thin, it's very flat, which is perfect for this project because what I'm going to do is hold the brush almost flush to the surface. So if I was to tilt this up right to you, when you're looking from above, you can see that I'm holding the brush with only ever so slight angle here away from the board. Now that means that we get a really nice, even, smooth down crackle with this. So I'm going to continue to drag this across. And naturally, of course, you do this over the whole page, but I've already applied step 1 here already. But we're going to go right over this, making sure I'm just flipping my brush around like this to make sure I'm getting the most of the product out of it. And a thin, even coverage is all that is needed because you can still slightly see the image through here. It almost looks like PVA glue, but it's not. This is the step 1 of your crackle medium, but that there is the consistency and the coloration you're going to get. Now, the brush with the product on, you can wash this in the sink, it's completely drain safe, or of course you can leave it to stand in a water pot, just as I'm doing here, so I can move on with the next step of my project. Now we've applied step 1 here, and then of course now what we're going to do is introduce the second part of this process, because step 1 here is dry, and notice as it's dry, it dries completely translucent. It will have a slight shine to it, so you can see there, we've got a bit of shine and reflectiveness going on, so it dries almost like a gloss. But that way, soon as it has become translucent, transparent, you know it's dry. And typically when we're talking about drying times with this medium, it's really important that you don't leave it out in the sun. So even if it's a beautiful, warm, sunny day and you think this is perfect, it's going to dry my product quicker, the UV rays can affect and spoil the chemistry within your medium. Leaving it just in room temperature conditions with natural light, maybe casting over but in the shade, not direct sun, is perfect. And you're looking at about an hour to an hour and a half for this to fully dry, depending on the temperature of your room. Now you might be inclined or teased to maybe speed that up with a heat gun or a hairdryer. Cadence would not recommend doing this. They would recommend leaving it to dry naturally. That way you're going to get the best reaction. As we go through a course of videos of this particular process, some products can be encouraged with the additional heat gun here and there, which will change the effects for desired purposes. But for this one, natural room temperature up to an hour and a half in just the light of your craft room is perfect. But again, a windowsill with sunlight, not ideal. So that's the best results. So we're going to go straight in with step 2 now. Now step 2 of the 70ml bottle, again, slightly different consistency, but I'm going to place this across the top here. Now again, we started down the side, but going across the top with this bottle, here we go, will mean that we can now drag it this way. So we're almost forming a crosshatch. With placing this medium that way and placing this one this way, that means that we're actually going to get more of a reaction. When two products are placed on top of each other in the same direction, you're going to get less diffusion. But when actually going across, almost forming like a Hessian crosshatch, you're going to get a greater effect because naturally you're creating a key with that medium. And when you create a key, that means you're going to get greater chemistry with your products. So again, really important, but at the same time, going to give you the best results. Of course, you can experiment with different ways of using this medium once you've got the technique down, but this is the best way to do it. So we're going to go in with step 2, and with that flat brush now, I'm going to start to drag this down. So I'm beginning at the top here, spreading it all the way down. And notice as well, because of course step 1 here is still wet, this one is much more translucent, okay? And I'm going to pop a slight more amount here on my project. Again, I'm placing it at the top because that was our initial placement of the product. But the reason why I'm adding more is because it's harder to take it away. You can always add more to your project. So again, same motion, horizontal with the brush almost flush to the surface, dragging this all the way down. And then we can go from the bottom upwards like this. And I'm going to evenly just spread that out. You'll get a slight haze. So you can see here in areas where the product is slightly hazy, then it will dry fully translucent. Now this particular chemical reaction that we've got going on here, these are all water-based. So when I say chemical reaction, realistically what I mean, it's almost scientific. The alchemy of these products is fascinating. This will dry fully translucent. So again, same process, leaving this at room temperature for up to an hour and a half. You'll notice then the cracks will start to appear and you can watch this happen. So what I'm going to do is take you to one that I have left for that duration of time and just bring that in here. So if I pop this here down on my mat, you can see already we've got texture there. We have got crackle, but it's translucent. Now, what does that mean? What does that do for us? This means we can bring in other mediums to amplify all of those crackles. So when I tilt it here, it almost looks like crocodile skin. It's got a mosaic effect. So when you imagine an eggshell being crushed, you've got a hard-boiled egg and you crunch it, those ultra random but so fine crackles is what has been achieved here with this result. And as I'm bending this board slightly, I can hear the cracks. So this has set beautifully on this surface. Now what we want to do with this is really amp it up a little bit. Now there's a selection of mediums that you can use for this. You could use the Cadence finger wax in any array of colour, whether you want gold, silver, black or pearl. That will set within the cracks. But I'm going to use here this particular medium. Now this is the Cadence very vintage home decor chic wax, and this is in the shade of the black colour, and of course that's because it's going to show up really well on our image. You could use paint as well if you're going to thin that down ever so slightly with some extender, but this is my preferred way of using it, as I find it gives you the best result because it glides so evenly. Now before I apply this down, I've got a piece of Cadence cut and use foam sponge, perfect for application. I've also got a very old dish sponge here which we're going to use to wipe away, and I've got some rags here to hand in case it gets a little bit messy. And then also we've got a water spritzer. But it's a very controlled process, and it's also really interesting to see this happen. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of the medium. Small amount is all that you need. I'm going to start on this corner, okay? I'm going to work directly onto the surface here. There we go. Go straight in with a bit of water on that sponge, slightly damp, and wipe it away. Now look what is happening. We're actually buffing the surface already, but then look, all of that medium is now captured within all of the crackles. Now it looked like I did that quite quickly, but that was just purely because you can see the excitement that instantly illuminates from this project. So again, let's keep going with this. I'm dipping into the medium again here. Very small amount is needed. I've literally just covered the corner, and let's bring this down into the image here. So we're going to work all the way around, and I'm pushing down with a little bit of force here, almost like you're rubbing out a mark with a pencil and you're using an eraser. So once you've applied this, you don't really want to leave it any more than, I would say, a minute before you do this process, because it will start to dry. So a light spritz of water again, nice damp sponge, and just start to do circular motions, just like that. And you can see as we rub that away and really go into it, I'm putting quite a bit of pressure down here with my finger. We're getting that colour back from the image, but this is your mosaic eggs crackle. A little bit more here on this side, so we're going to work into this part of the image here. There we go, and you can see as I'm working around, it's actually buffing off with the sponge at the same time, but naturally it's going to carry that pigmentation with it, so then that wet dish sponge that we're using will fetch off any extra elements of that. I'm going to go down here as well, working all the way around on the image with this. Honestly, it is so addictive. Now, all of that detail has really been brought to the surface, but again, just to bring the colour back of the image, bit of damp sponge here, then all the way around. There we go. And then because our sponge now is a little bit grubby, that of course will wash out really easily just in the sink with some warm water. I'm going to go in with my cloth here. It could be a duster, it could be an old rag. I've got a little bit of paper towel. Then we just polish that up. And you can work the polishing process for as long as you want to. You can see I'm still getting some off here. So I'm going to get a fresh piece. Let's grab this little bit here. There we go. And work into that as well. Nice and damp. And the dampness and the moisture is key. So if I was to go in with a piece of dry tissue, it's not going to do a greater job of fetching off the medium. When you add moisture, that's where it fetches it off, because it's water-based products. So adding water to that vintage wax is going to really allow it to come away from the surface. Now this could look absolutely incredible with a photo frame around it. This could be on the surface of a set of coasters. You could be doing this on cardstock, just as I have here. This is like a mount board piece. You could do it on a whole host of surfaces, meaning not only mixed media, but paper craft. You can try this onto really, really intricate glassware to get some beautiful effects. But that there is your Cadence Mosaic Eggs Crackle Medium. Step 1 and step 2, through the application to the drying times, all of that combined in one. Now we're going to be moving on as well to some additional Crackle Medium, so join us for the next video and we'll share more with you there. Thank you very much. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notification of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.